Welcome, I'm Darren, and I'll be your guide today as I look at 1997-98 NBA hoops. NBA hoops had continued a tradition of every 2 years it changed its designs. So one year it would have a design, it'd tweak it, and then it'd completely change it, tweak it, completely change it, tweak it. And that was no different going from 1996 to 1997. However, even though 96 hoops looks nothing like 1990 hoops or 92 hoops, there was still enough of a through thread where they looked like very basic standard cards for basketball. When they changed to 1997, this was the first time they actually departed from anything related to the previous year. So the 1997-98 NBA hoop set is a very distinct individual creation that just doesn't look like an NBA hoop set. It was a complete change to a whole new spirit of hoops, which was actually more akin to Skybox. I would have to say that this is probably done because of Skybox Impact over in football, where Impact was always maintaining it started off as a non-Skybox-like design, and then it transitioned into maintaining more of a Skybox mystique to it. And that's where I think that this came with NBA Hoops, where it was kind of riding on that same concept. So what we got was very much a Skybox type of a card design, where behind the player you have a logo with kind of a background effect that looks really cool, with a strong team color for that whole backdrop, which makes each one of these cards look like a card that is absolutely built for collectors of teams. And it makes the whole set feel very much that way. In fact, they don't even do any other designs. So when you look at the League Leader cards, the League Leader cards look just like the regular cards for the players. The image is different, and the big difference is it says League Leader down at the bottom, but it looks like it's part of the team. So the card set was built entirely around that. And when you look at the whole set, team by team by team, all of these teams read extremely well because the logos are very strong, but also the whole backdrop reads so well that as you go through, it feels like you're looking through the league. And these logos very much they kind of harken back to the 1990-91 Skybox cards with the team logos that they did in their Series 2 cards. Obviously, it's not quite the same, but it still looks like they use that as the backdrop behind the player, conceptually at any rate. So this card set looked absolutely nothing like what we're used to with NBA hoops, and that carried to the fact that they didn't even bother to do subsets, with the exception of League Leaders. So this was the card set. This is just the way that they made the cards. They didn't do parallels. There was nothing special about it. It was that these were the cards, and then there were a bunch of inserts, and the inserts were where it was really all focused. And there are quite a few inserts that they released. And if there was one theme that dominated almost all of the inserts, it's chrome. And the particular type of chrome is more akin to what they used in playoff. So it has more of a vibrance to it, almost a glow to it, which is pretty cool when used right. And the first insert, you can see it beautifully with Chairman of the Board, where in this case it has almost a Fleer-like design in the back, a very strong color to the whole card back, with kind of almost a spray paint-like design behind the player. And then they have some gold foil text which comes across at an angle saying Chairman of the Board. And it's tough to read because it's designed kind of like a spiral around the player. For what it's worth, that's the theme that they went with for it. But it's tough to see because the gold foil doesn't really read too well in contrast with the chrome. But it's the way that they designed the card. And then the next set is Chillin' with Hill, which is a set looking at Grant Hill off the court. And these cards, again, they're all chromed. This is a card set that harkens to the tradition that we saw in basketball of trying to capture players in more of an accessible fashion, whether it's going to the schools or Boys and Girls Club cards. There was always this tradition, and especially in the mid years, they started to look at different players and have like little insert sets looking at players in a more accessible way, because with basketball, they were still trying to build their audience. They had a broader reach across the entire country than hockey had, but hockey had a more focused and devoted following where hockey had fans. Basketball still was trying to get to that point, so they were still marketing to kids, which is why NBA Hoops was still NBA Hoops. It was basically the league trying to entice people to be fans of basketball. Outreach is what it was. And Grant Hill was the player they were using in 1997 as their outreach type player. And so here is a card set that's looking at Grant Hill as not a superstar legend in basketball, but instead more of an accessible guy who just kind of has hobbies like you would know, or goes out, things that he's doing out in the community. So it's all about the accessibility of the player and the human side of him. So yeah, cool card. And then they had a set called Dish and Swish. And for Dish and Swish, you really get to start to see what the Chrome technology can use. I think it's the best use of it because it has very rich colors, but it also has some silver text that is laced throughout the card, which is able to bring out the real strength of this technology, the material that it has, where it's able to really glow in some interesting ways. And Dish and Swish is not a super powerful card, but it does the things that you want it to do, so it actually does capture what the card technology can pull off. So yeah, pretty fun. Then they have a set called Frequent Flyers, and Frequent Flyers is based around airline boarding, basically. These are not really credit cards, they're more like entry tickets, where at this point I think you would probably know this for parking garages, where it's the ticket that you receive. On the back it has a little mag strip, that's all there is to it. So these aren't really credit cards, and the front very much captures that because it's not at all themed like a credit card. This is a chromed card with clouds behind the player that just really do glow in a wonderful way. And the gold foil for the text actually kind of reads on this card. But what's really fun about these cards is that the player is not in chrome. So that means that the background glows in a way different from the player who doesn't glow. And that allows to have kind of a 3D effect on the card, which every once in a while you can see with these chrome cards. In this one, it really does carry well. So really awesome. But this is a card set that is built more around the parallel, which is the frequent flyer upgrades. And these cards are different mainly because there's no chrome, they're plastic, as in they're very plastic. This makes it look a lot better because not only does the way that the design comes through on the plastic is a lot more clear, but also the gold foil text reads a lot better too. So overall, the whole card reads a lot better, but it's not as much fun as the chrome finish on the regular cards. So either way you want to look at it, but that is what they did for Frequent Flyers with the Hoops Airlines for the overarching, not the theme, but it's a logo on the card set. But it is Frequent Flyers, which is the gold foil down at the bottom. Then they also had a pack filler set called Great Shots. And these are mini posters, and they fold down 2 times into a card shape size. So the card size is what they came in packs, and when you unfold it, it's 4 times the size of a regular card. And it harkens partially back to the action photos from 1990 and 91 with NBA Hoops, but more correctly, it harkens back to the Topps mini posters of the 1970s. These are wonderful opportunities to really take advantage of the great potential that the images have. And so you get these mini posters that capture the full details of some of these shots. I have to say there are a lot of shots I've seen over the years that I wish were done as mini posters. These aren't quite as strong, but still, they're really cool, and it's wonderful to be able to have these big shots of players that are, well, the fact that we get posters at all in packs is great, and I love that they did that. Then they have a set called High Voltage, and High Voltage this is the second most bold design of all. I mean, that essentially bullseye around the player is very distinct, very clear. There's not really a whole lot to this card because, well, this isn't the key to the card. It's actually the parallel where you really care. And with the parallel, they have a whole spectral effect on the card, covering the entire card, it's pretty cool. It's a nice pattern that they've got. But this is more about on the back. These are all serial numbered out of 500. At this time, basketball wasn't quite ready to get into the really low number parallels, serial numbered parallels, so 500 was perfectly fine for them at the time, and frankly, it's about right for now too, but that was high voltage. And then they have the most complex card of all. What I think is the most distinct card, even though it's not the card that's the flashiest, it is the card that is probably the one that you're going to be most impressed with. And that is Hoop Stars. This is a card that is die cut. That's the first thing. But it also has the chrome finish, but it also has holofoil. So it has all three of those going on. And the way that the chrome works versus the holofoil makes this card really cool because they get affected by the light in different ways and at different times. So it's a card that you can actually spend time really exploring and really enjoying just how it reads. And you might look at it and think, I wonder if it's embossed. It's not. You would think that they would have done embossing for the holofoil. It looks like it's embossed, but it's actually not. The whole card is flat, but it is die cut. Then we have a set called 911 or 911. And these cards they are actually an inset card set. So they have an outer sleeve, and the outer sleeve is just solid red prism, front and back. There's nothing on the back, but on the front they're die cut through with 911 as for the die cut pattern, and inside you can see the inset card with a big image of the player. Now, if you slide it out, you'll notice that the card back is on the inset. Now that's the whole writing, but it's also the card number. Why they put the card number inside rather than outside, I really don't know. And also on the inside of the sleeve, they have the same image, but in black and white. So yeah, I like that they did that. That was kind of cool. Then they have Rock the House. And Rock the House, we're back to the chrome finish on the cards. This is a card that the player gets kind of lost in because the background is a little bit too busy, a little bit too heavy, and the chrome finish doesn't have anything to really capture and bring out. So it's a card that kind of runs together for what it's worth. But they had this. They also had rookie headliners, and these are also completely chrome, but in this case they have a newsprint behind that allows the player to stand out. And the newsprint is because this is not this year's rookies, it's the previous year's rookies who've all had an entire season. So they're looking at highlights from the player's first season. And the way that it comes across, on an individual basis, the cards aren't all that distinct. But when you put them into card pages, now the players start to pop out a lot more. So the card doesn't quite capture the full effect potential that the chrome finish has compared to Dish and Swish, but in this case, it still reads really well, so works quite well. Then they have another pack filler card set called Talkin' Hoops, and this is a very large card set, 30 cards. Every one of the cards, again chrome, but they have it's almost like the background is ghosted, and then they have a logo that is just kind of set in the back, kind of it's almost unnoticeable. These cards tend to look really good on an individual basis. Now, when you put them in card pages, they all run together, and it's difficult to appreciate the card, even though the players become a lot more distinct. But again, on an individual basis, this is a card that looks pretty good, but not as good as the last set, which is Top of the World. These are a bunch of rookies, as in actual rookies. This is the first, this is the players who are just coming into the league, and all of these cards have a holofoil finish over the background, and then the player does not have holofoil, so he's distinct. And then they have a fisheye shot looking down the player where it makes it look like he's standing on the globe. So he's on top of the world, which makes the card a lot more playful and look like something more for kids rather than for serious collectors. But still, it's a very distinct card, very interesting, and I like how the holofoil works. It's a cool effect that makes the cards a lot more unusual than you're used to. And that brings 97-98 NBA Hoops to a close. This was not the most ambitious set ever. This is very much where they were scaling back to a more simplistic approach, which is about trying to get people to open packs more for the inserts than for the regular set. The set was very much an afterthought, which is, it's kind of the way things were going at the time. And in the years to come, they would scale it back even more. So this is the last time I can justify doing a single video for one set. So the next hoop set I'll have to do will be the next 2 sets in line. Just that's the way that things were going. But at least they did still have some fun things in the inserts. And again, the regular card set is a very bold, very distinct, very clear card set for the way you go from team to team. Other than that, that brings 97-98 NBA Hoops to a close. So I want to thank you for watching, and if you haven't subscribed, I do urge you to do so, and definitely check out my other videos. So yeah, again, thank you.